Honestly, the things they put in newspapers these days. This week, there's some guy who's running a video store in 2024, a movie rental store. It's mad, honestly. They think you believe anything. It's like a Freddie Starr ate my hamster headline. But seriously though, that is pretty wacky, isn't it? That is pretty wacky. This week's big news, the Mirror, the Daily Mirror, the second biggest selling newspaper in Britain. Well, seeing as the first biggest selling newspaper in Britain is the Mail, this is the biggest selling newspaper in Britain that didn't support the Nazis. The Daily Mirror, good story to be honest, quite pleased about that, and thank you so much to those people who volunteered to contribute to this article. I mean, they were fantastic. Sam, James, Aaron, and obviously the people that made it in. I think Matt, Nathan, and Kai. Thank you for giving up your time. Really appreciate it. And just that quote from Nathan in the middle there. It feels more like a community space than a shop. That is a really great quote, and it's everything that I'm trying to create in here. So fantastic. There's a few misquotes. Namely, a misquote online that says that Dave has never been asked for a film he hasn't got, which is a complete lie. I get asked for films I don't have every day. So I don't know where they got that one from. And for some reason, I gave them 5 titles that you can't stream in any capacity in the UK, but they seem to think you can. So that's another misprint. But still, great article. A few people already coming in because they've read that. And we're all good. So welcome to episode 29 of Inside the Video Store. We have precisely 45 minutes to rattle through this episode. I have a chicken in the oven, which isn't a euphemism. I do actually have a chicken in the oven, and it pings at 5:20. So we have 45 minutes to rattle through everything. As I say, been a good week. Mirror article was massive when that dropped on Saturday. Merch is coming along really well. Got some stickers in this week for me to look at, which I'm really happy about. Also signed a new artist this week who's doing a design, the great Gareth Gibson. I don't know if you want to check his website out, which is Gibson Graphics, I believe. Mega artist, especially in the sort of horror genre, because I wanted a kind of a horror t-shirt, because I feel that would cater to many people's obsession. So horror meets Snips, I think that should be a nice combo. So we'll see what Gareth is going to come up with. At the moment we're looking at a merch launch sometime in mid-November. I'm still trying to get the vendors right. I'm still a bit unsure which third-party sellers to go via. At the moment it's between TeePublic, which is great, which Brian Sauer uses, but for the UK sometimes you've got to ship from America, which can be prohibitive. I'm also looking at is it Redbubble? Possibly. And I found a new one today as well that could work. But if you know of any third-party vendors where you can have a merch store hosted, then let me know. I'd be really interested to find out. Like I said, I've got a few ideas and I'm trialing a few places, but I don't want to kind of launch something and then people to buy stuff for Christmas and then it not turn up, or to, has a crazy delivery time like 6 weeks from the States or something and is like £20 delivery. I don't know. So we shall see. But yeah, things are ticking along very nicely indeed. So let's get on with today's show. We've got a little stack of new releases here. We're missing a couple still. As you know, a few did disperse away from this week. I think there's the Guts trilogy from '88 and some, was it erotic something trilogy from '88, erotic story, I forget. Anyway, so they went. Another one from Radiance disappeared, and so far the 2 BFI releases aren't in yet, which is the Michael Powell early films and also the new BFI Flipside film, which looks absolutely fantastic, and whose name escapes me. But still, let's have a look. Main title this week has to be the new Studio Ghibli film from Miyazaki. It's The Boy and the Heron, already out on loan on Blu-ray. It looks fantastic. I mean, Studio Ghibli has a devoted following, and they are rabidly looking forward to renting this. And why not? Because the quality is obviously there, and this looks like it'll be a really, really good renter and a really great film to boot. So, The Boy and the Heron is this week's big movie. Secondary to that, we have The Bike Riders, which looks really, really interesting. It's directed by Jeff Nichols, who has directed many, many, many great movies that I love. Amazing career. Normally works with Michael Shannon, and Michael Shannon is in this film as expected, along with Jodie Comer, Liverpool's finest, and Tom Hardy as well. So a good British contingent in this movie, along with Austin Butler. It's got some good reviews, this film, so I'm kind of looking forward to it. I didn't go all in, so I just dabbled with a DVD, and we'll see how that performs. Might pick up a Blu next week if it demands it. One for me, Alien Apocalypse. It's the Asylum's riff on the latest Alien film. I can't ignore an Asylum release, so you just got to do what you got to do. I have a section up there that needs feeding. Indicator are wild, aren't they? Indicator are wild. They kind of go from Roland, 1 month, and then the next month they have like 4 brilliant films from the golden era of Hollywood, sort of stretching between 1938 and 1942. Some really cool releases. We've got When Tomorrow Comes with Irene Dunne and Charles Boyer. We have The Lady is Willing with Marlene Dietrich and Fred McMurray. We have You and Me, a Fritz Lang film with Sylvia Sidney and George Raft. And we also have You'll Never Get Rich with Fred Astaire and Rita Hayworth, featuring the songs of Cole Porter. I mean, what a quartet that is. But that's lovely. I love that. That's kind of the brass balls of Indicator. To just defy being pigeonholed. They will go from Eurosleaze 1 month to classic Hollywood films the next month, and next month they've got a couple of Mexican films, I think, haven't they? And they got Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder the month after. It's crazy, but you kind of like that. I kind of like that approach to some degree, although I like a curated, themed approach sometimes, like the Italian collection from '88 and things like that. I do enjoy it when labels just release whatever they're passionate about, because you don't have to pigeonhole yourself as a movie watcher, do you? And that's the problem that we all find with Netflix, is that when you watch something on Netflix, it automatically pigeonholes you. It automatically takes the aspects of the film you watched and decides what to select for you next. Where a great label like Indicator is very much like a video store. It's anti-algorithm. It won't let you be pigeonholed into one specific genre, so that is very exciting indeed. From Radiance this month, we have a Damiano Damiani film, The Day of the Owl, with Franco Nero and Lee J. Cobb. Looks fantastic. Kind of a precursor, I think, to the whole Poliziotteschi movement. But I am no expert whatsoever. Although it does have an essay on here from Mike Malloy on where this film features in the Italian crime genre. So I'm sure that will tick all those boxes. And then finally we have a threesome from Eureka, and you do not need more than 3 seconds to guess that this threesome is Asian cinema based. We have 2 Taoist tales, the Taoism drunkard and the young Taoism fighter, some more mad martial arts mayhem from the Yuan clan. Good little twosome there that look absolutely great fun indeed. Obviously, it says that in the wake of encounters of the spooky kind, there was a whole cycle that drew upon Taoist folklore. Thus, throughout the 80s and the next decade, a combination of horror, comedy, and martial arts all brought together some hopping vampires, vengeful ghosts. Vengeful goats? That would be interesting. Vengeful ghosts and evil sorcerers to make some wild and wonderful films. And they do look wild and wonderful films. So I shall place that somewhere, squeeze it somewhere into my bulging martial arts section. And then finally, this week, or finally with the newbies, we have The Champions, which looks like a bit of a precursor to Shaolin Soccer. And indeed it says so on the back. It dates from 1983. And based on a young farmer who's grown up in an isolated rural community, heads for the city, and lo and behold, he has a talent for the beautiful game of football. Looks good fun. And as we all know, Shaolin Soccer is one of many people's favourite films, so it'd be interesting to see where that slots in. So yeah, nice collection of new releases this week. Very nice collection. But shall we see what's been renting? That's the key. What's been renting out this week? A motley crew, and it's been a busy week, as you can imagine, with all the coverage that this store has been gleaning. And I normally pick 8 films. I could have picked 16 films easily that are particularly interesting. This one, I saw it at the cinema. I'm sure I saw it at Manchester Corner House Cinema when it first came out, or something like that. But yeah, it's Peter Hedges' film. It's Pieces of April. Katie Holmes, who perhaps isn't regarded as well as she should be for some of her roles. But this is just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful film that probably hasn't rented out for a decade. Great cast. You got Patricia Clarkson, Derek Luke, Alison Pill, Sean Hayes, and Oliver Platt, the legendary Oliver Platt. And it is just a wonderful, acerbic, brilliantly written comedy. And a new customer rented it out, and I'm thrilled that she did so. And I really hope she enjoys it, which is exciting. Customer asked me, I don't do many recommendations these days, because most people come in with their lists and their specific ideas of what they want to rent. Every now and then a person will ask me to make a suggestion, and the criteria was a dark comedy. You could go anywhere, couldn't you? But I thought we would go with our old friend Trent Hager. I love Trent Hager. I interviewed him for the Charlie Band book that we co-wrote a couple of years ago. Wonderful human being, and this is his script, and it is a brilliant film. I don't know, you must have seen this. Cheap Thrills. It's an excellent film. I hate the term cult classic, but I guess if you had to pin it with a label, I guess it would qualify as a cult classic. I'm not sure how well regarded it is these days. It came out 10 years ago. Is it remembered? I don't know. I don't tend to see many conversations about it, but it's a wonderful film. Yeah, brilliant. And Pat Healy's in it, and Pat Healy is just a comic genius. I need to pick up more of Third Window's Directors Company films. I'm a few behind with those, and if the rest are as good as Door and the sequel Door 2, then that is absolutely wonderful. Thrilled to see these two going out again. Matt took them when he was here for the interview and the photo session with the Mirror, and I said to him at the time, he's in for an absolute treat. Brilliant twosome, and great to see them going out. On the same day, at the same time, Kai took Combat Shock. I've got 2 copies of Combat Shock, one being the Arrow video release, one being the Troma release. I think they're pretty much identical, but I'm guessing I kept the Troma release because my OCD couldn't contend with me taking number 4 out of the Troma Masterpiece collection. And hey, there is no problem at all with having 2 copies of Combat Shock in this DVD store. What a film. What a film. Grim movie, but what a film indeed. And while we're speaking of grim, how great is Bug? How great is Bug, and how great is it to see it renting out? Really excited. I think, did Nathan rent this? I forget who rented it. But either way, they're in for an absolute treat. It's so rare. I'm sure you prove me wrong. It's so rare for a filmmaker to have their heyday, like William Friedkin did with maybe French Connection, Exorcist, a couple of brilliant films in between, Cruising, obviously, and then have a really fallow period from 87 through most of the 90s. A few flops, be it Jade and Rules of Engagement, good films, but arguably not the level that he once was. And then to come back with this Bug, which is just an absolute masterpiece of intensity, and you will never treat Kitchen Foil in the same way. Brilliant film. And speaking of Friedkin, I put this in my Mirror article, even though it was misquoted, because it is one of the great Friedkin films, and you cannot stream it in this country. You cannot stream To Live and Die in LA. Surely, if you were to offer me any argument for the goodness, the benefits of streaming, all I would need to do as a counter-argument would be this. So I could lift that up silently and put it in your face and say, sorry, but streaming has no... If you cannot rent To Live and Die in LA, then streaming is of no use to anybody. It's as useful as a chocolate fire guard. This rented out, which is really exciting because it's now out of print and going on eBay for 100 quid. So it's always good to rent this really, really rare film out to a customer. Kind of tempted to follow them home. No, I'm not going to do that because they're a good customer and I know them well and they're very trustworthy. But yeah, it's one of the weird scenarios we're in, isn't it? Really, where physical media goes out of print so quickly. And you get films like this. Jeff Lieberman, great director. When's Blue Sunshine going to appear over here? I know I can import one, but I don't want to. We should have it in this country, widely available. Anyway, but yeah, Just Before Dawn is out of print. Who's going to get the license for this and reissue it? Because it needs it. It needs a reissue. It's a mega film, brilliant ending, and it deserves another release. Strange one, but yeah, very cool. Good to see that going out. Finally, I gave this to James as a freebie. James is on a bit of a full moon bent at the moment, and why not? And I do not take responsibility for that, honestly. And I said, James, go and try the Killjoy series. There's 5 altogether, and it's that weird kind of franchise whereby it defies the law of diminishing sequels. If you watch Killjoy 1, you'll probably hate it. Many people do. Killjoy 2, you probably hate equally as much. But then something happens. 3, 4, 5 absolute brilliant, great fun, amazing films. What happens? John Lechargo takes hold of the franchise. And John Lechargo is an absolute... I'm not going to say genius because I've used it 16 times so far. John Lechargo is just a brilliant film director who can seemingly turn a no-money budget into looking like a decent budget. So I said to James, start with Killjoy 3 and work your way through it. That's such good fun. And yeah, enjoy. I remember interviewing John Lechargo about the Killjoy films, and I wrote to him, I said, John, can I interview you about the Killjoy films? And he said, yeah, sure. And he said, just send me some questions. I said, yeah. So I sent him some questions. The usual things. How did you get it made? How many... And he wrote back and he said, they're really, really terrible questions. You're not going to interview me unless you submit some interesting questions that actually might make me want to answer them. And at the time, this was about 12 years ago, at the time I thought, oh, that's a bit weird. He seems like a bit of an arsehole. But he wasn't. He's a really nice man. And to be honest, he did me the biggest favour. I do write the odd thing, as you may know. And it made me put a little bit more effort and made me a bit more, ask more interesting questions rather than the basics that is readily available on any internet database or movie website. Always ask a little bit further, think outside the box, and it did teach me a big lesson. So really grateful to him for doing that. But his Killjoy films are absolutely amazing. Okie dokie, there we have it. We have some new releases. We have a What's in the Box. Now I know you know what's in the box, which is that thing over there. We have a few more other things in. Somebody Wants Eating Out, the film. So I got that in. I got asked for that on Friday. Didn't have it in the LGBT section, and felt as though we do need that kind of pivotal film in that genre. So hey, Eating Out is in. We have two from Full Moon, which are really exciting. Doll Graveyard is very good. Doll Graveyard is very good. I know many people poo-poo this the last 20 years of Full Moon, but there are some real highlights, and I would say Doll Graveyard is undoubtedly one of those. Written, of course, by Dominic Muir. Dominic Muir, who... just checking the date. Dominic Muir, who wrote the Critters franchise. David Lynchian. Also, we have Quadrant, which is the new Full Moon film. That's never happened before. Hello? No, I don't rent PlayStation 4 games, I'm afraid. Sorry. Only films. Only films. Thank you. It's been one of those weeks. It's bizarre that you can have an article in a national newspaper that states exactly what you do. That you rent DVDs, Blu-rays, UHDs. But every phone call I've had this week has been, do you fix VHS players? Do you buy VHS? Do you want my 100 motorsport videos? Will you buy my collection? It's just, you think, people, honestly, people. Anyway, film. New Full Moon. Quadrant is well worth a look. It's very ambitious, very AI, which some people might not like, but it's got a script by C. Courtney Joyner, one of the icons of Full Moon script writing. So for that reason alone, I would definitely recommend it. Charlie directs it, and it's got a lot of good and interesting things about it. 20 minutes to go. So let's have a look at the Severin thing. And I know what you're going to say with this. I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, Dave, you've been moaning and whining about Severin not sending your sale films for a couple of weeks, and yet here they are. Everyone is still shrink wrapped, and you haven't even watched them. You're right. In fact, to add to that grievance, I unpacked the box on Thursday. I placed them in a vertical stack behind the counter, and they stayed in that vertical stack untouched until about 5 minutes before the show. So I haven't even looked at them. And you'll say, but why were you moaning about? You're in no rush. But it doesn't matter. There's a duty of care that if you pay for a order of films, be it one film or be it 21, you are owed a good turnaround in shipping. You just are. That's the way it is. So what do we got? Let's quickly whip through these. I'm not going to spend too long on every one. First up, we have a double bill featuring Christopher Lee. This looks really interesting. I was trying to think. drove up to Haydock today for one reason or another, and I was trying to think on the way about the difference between Severin and its contemporary labels like Vinegar Syndrome and folk like that. And I was kind of thinking, well, Severin a bit scruffy, aren't they? A bit scruffy. You know, you don't get many slip covers. It's not about the design. Some of the sleeves are a bit, but it's more, I don't know. It seems like the thinking man's label. Oh, it sounds weird. Or the thinking person's label. The thinking, because some of these picks, some of these releases that they do, it just feels as though that they're a little bit less random, a little bit less cynical, and it's not so much of a money maker. They've gone for films which genuinely are all really, really interesting. I'll translate that to there's not much shit. Where from other labels there can be just releases for the sake of releasing something and for the sake of making a quick buck. But for Severin, there seems to be a bit of thought put into every release. Might be wrong, but I'd be interested to know what your differences between these labels. I mean, you look at the effort that Vinegar Syndrome put in with all their slips and slidey things and foldy things and openy things and roundabout things. But Severin don't do any of that. It's a slip if you're lucky, but mainly just a standard Amore case. Interesting. Just I wonder if there's something beneath the surface, whether that means something, whether that hints at the difference between the way they license to the way Vinegar Syndrome licensed. I don't know. Just interesting. Or maybe not. Yeah, so this is the North American Blu-ray premieres of, I think, do I have a Jess Franco film here? No. Yes. Ah, that's right. 1970. Pere Portabella, movie producer, suggested to Jess Franco that he create a film about the production of his own Count Dracula film. The resulting movie, Vampire Quadricook, is a dreamlike deconstruction of myths, monsters, and movie making featuring Christopher Lee, Herbert Lom, and Soledad Miranda. Lee also stars in Portabella's companion piece, Umbracle, an unsettling journey through dread, violence, and discontinuity, with Lee at his most candid. So it's a Christopher Lee double bill. Looks absolutely wacky. Can't wait to have a look at those. Next up, No One Heard the Scream. Now this is from the director of Cannibal Man, Eloy de la Iglesia, made in 1973. It's billed as a must for all European film fans, with a final twist that will resonate with you for a very long time. Looks like a fantastic thriller, a black comedy, political thriller, road movie, and psychological horror all in one. I mean, wow. Been eyeing up this for a few years now, finally picked it up. It is Wild Beasts from Franco Prosperi. A real slice of exploitation. This is a new one, isn't it, from Severin? This is part of their sale releases. It is The Mummy and the Curse of the Jackals, which looks pretty wild. The 1969 horror epic that's been barely seen since its fly-by-night VHS release. Looks very cool indeed. A genuine kitsch masterpiece, says the box. Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory is a twisted Italian horror that meets a lurid German creamy in this creamy. It's not creamy, is it? Creamy. Creamy is kind of like, whipped cream. Euroshocker, 1961. Werewolf in a Girl's Dormitory. This looks a great family fun. Journey to the Center of the Earth. It's directed, of course, by Juan Piquet Simon, the writer-director of Pieces. I don't think this has as much blood as Pieces, but we may all be surprised. So what I'm going to have to do with these, I don't know if you can see this. Severin section it kind of goes to here. It's not that big because obviously most of the Severin is in the Franco section up on the next shelf. I'm going to remove the culture shock releasing section, because there's no point. They've just vanished. You know, they broke off from Vinegar Syndrome, saying how Vinegar Syndrome kind of ripped them off and took too much of a cut. And they said, right, well, we're off. We're going with TerraVision. And kind of, that was it, really. 2 years has it been since the Richard Goodbye double bill, Virgin High. So there's no point having a section devoted to them. So I'll whip those away and I'll put them somewhere else next year when I build my new sections. So yeah, that's what I'm just going to extend Severin a little bit further along there. My Grandpa's a Vampire is very good fun. I like this Aussie film, directed by the legendary David Blythe, who did Death Warmed Up, starring Al Lewis, Grandpa, in the Vampire and the Munsters, and it's good fun. It's a weird film. It's kind of like family film, but probably not suitable for family film. A weird kind of hybrid, but good. Enjoyed it. I think this is another new one, isn't it? It's directed by that guy again. Director of Cannibal Man, Eloy de la Iglesia. We have The Creature. Interesting. After a miscarriage, a couple adopt a stray male dog in the hopes of saving their rocky marriage. However, things don't pan out as they planned. Keeping with the dog-themed aspect, we have a dog called Vengeance, which is another Spanish film. This time it's from Antonio Izazzi, which shocked European audiences and became one of the most culturally charged survival thrillers of the decade. Looks fantastic. Can't wait to see that. So much good stuff here. More Franco, a couple of his noir films there. Death Whistles the Blues, what a title. And Rafifi and the City. Klaus Kinski, Nosferatu in Venice, the odd sequel, unofficial sequel to Werner Herzog's Nosferatu. This was made at the very end of Kinski's career. I think it was one of his last 3 films. Private Crimes, which is Sergio Martino. It's a miniseries by Sergio Martino, featuring Edwige Fenech, and Ray Lovelock. So, wow, that looks absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing, can't wait to see that. Still keeping with the miniseries vibe, we have Tales to Keep You Awake, the legendary Spanish anthology series. So that will be very cool indeed. Next up we have Don't Change Hands, a dark and graphic fantasy with winks to film noir. It navigates between the playful implausibility of genre culture and the morbid dissonance of an orgasm. That sells it really, doesn't it? That sells it. French film, perverse thriller, can't beat it. Next up, on the Video Nasties list, I do believe, I Miss You, Hugs and Kisses. Although how deserving it was to get a place on the Video Nasties list, I do not know. Bit of exploitation here from director Murray Markowitz, and also features another Murray Markowitz film on it, Recommendation from Mercy from 1975. So you get double bill. Now I had this already, which is John Russo's Midnight, and I had the Arrow DVD of it, so I do like this film. So kind of keen to get the Blu-ray, which hopefully kind of cleans it up a fair bit, and we even get a nice new slipcover with it as well. This one, I just presumed I had it. I just presumed it was part of the 88 Films Italian Classics collection. It is Eaten Alive by Umberto Lenzi. But no, wasn't there. So I thought, right, well, let's pick up the Severin release, featuring Robert Kerman. Brilliant. Great in so many Gary Graver pornos as well. Invaders of the Lost Gold is directed by Alan Birkinshaw and stars Woody Strode and Laura Gemser and Glynis Barber, with the interesting cover quote, "A delicious piece of atrocity cake." Never tried that. The Red Light Bandit is a great title. It's an exhilarating work of savage audacity, says Film Comment. The best of Brazilian cinema. A seminal underground movie. It dates from 1968 and adds to our expanding line of Brazilian exploitation movies. The Mad Bomber has a brilliant cast. Vince Edwards, Chuck Connors, Neville Brand. I mean, wow. And it's from director Bert I. Gordon. Now, you'd know Bert I. Gordon well, I reckon, from brilliant monster movies like The Amazing Colossal Man, Attack of the Puppet People, and Empire of the Ants. But lo and behold, down in the dark recesses of the 1970s, he made this remarkably politically incorrect sharp turn into 70s urban perversion. You know, that sells it alone, doesn't it? You do not need anything else to sell that film. Brilliant. How have we got? 9 minutes to go. Let's think of that chicken, people. Let's think of that chicken. And finally, in the Severin sale, I got Dracula, Prisoner of Frankenstein. A comic book style monster rally, only as Jess Franco could realise and bring to life. Dennis Price stars, Howard Vernon stars, and Britt Nichols. I had this already up there somewhere from a tartan double bill with The Curse of Frankenstein, but great to have this on Blu-ray, and there's more from Stephen Thrower on there as well, which kind of seals the deal for me. So yeah, the Severin sale is in. So we've had the Severin sale, we've had Vinegar Syndrome. We're pretty much up to date, to be honest, with regard to all the films that are due in. The only thing I'm waiting for now is my TerraVision sale to ship, and that'll be pretty cool. But I think that's me pretty much done for the year, to be honest. Like bits and bobs coming in from the States. I know for a fact there's a few Warner Archives that I'm really keen to get my hands on, as well as a few Film Masters releases that look really, really exciting. Especially one that shipped yesterday. I forget the title of it, but it kind of annoyed me. Just one of those ridiculous things that is far from annoying, but it just annoys you to a degree. And that's Redneck Miller. They released Redneck Miller, didn't they, Film Masters? But they were going to release it on a really small batch of 500 copies. Fine, because they weren't happy with the print. So fine, release it 500 copies. I'll buy one. That's great. But hang on. Sorry, we've had lots of interest in this. We're going to increase that 500 to 1500. And you think, well, annoying. But still, there we go. It's like the Eureka thing. Eureka did the similar thing with the film that they released, but they were strict. They kept that. They said, we're only going to print 1,000 of these. They went in a heartbeat, and they stuck to it. And you kind of like that. Just say your quantity and stick to it. Don't do any of this, flip-flopping, as they say. A couple of comments from last week's show. Cinema Dave. Hi, Dave. Congratulations on the newspaper article. It's nice to see more people interested in physical media. Isn't it just? Anthony Hopkins, not the real Anthony Hopkins, says, first shot of the video and I see how sex lies at the Potato Man, and I'm instantly transported to 2003 when I worked at Choices Video. Great little chain of video stores in the UK, long since departed. Most well known for having or owning the Mosaic film label, which were just mega. We got who was it? I forget. Dominic, Prison Break guy, and Mel Gibson were in a film last week. And We Can Rebuild Him says, I really love how those DTV action movies feature an aging star prominently in the marketing, but then only fleetingly in the movie, like Confidential Informant. And of course the nickname for the movie is Geezer Teasers. I quite like that, and that is very funny indeed. Graham Reed says, he says contentiously, but I disagree. I do not think this is a contentious assertion in any way. That his favourite Mammoth film is Spartan. Spartan is a masterpiece. Absolutely brilliant, and definitely in the Mammoth top 5. Although the Mammoth top 5 may well be a Mammoth top 10 after the last few weeks. But yeah, Spartan is wonderfully, wonderfully wonderful. What else we got? Oh, Chom Jolliffe says about Resurrection, the Christophe Lambert film that went out last week, the Silence of the Severin rip-off. He agrees it's a fantastic film and one of Lambert's best during the 90s. Indie Phantom Sofa Cinema says, another great weekly update. You often order multiple copies of new release titles. It depends. I mean, obviously the mainstream people aren't really here as much as they were. We are gradually morphing into a cult cinema shop, as opposed to a mainstream video store that it once inevitably was. But yeah, some demand it. Some do demand it. Bad Boys has rented well. It's justified those 3 copies. Planet of the Apes is next week, so I'll probably do the same for that. And yeah, you have to please 2 crowds. You have to please the people that come in because they can't rent these anywhere in the UK. And you have to please the people that don't want to pay an outrageous fortune to rent Planet of the Apes and Bad Boys on Sky or Prime for £5 when they can rent it here for £2.50. So you have to have enough to, quench that thirst, quench that demand. So you're trying to balance. It's a balancing act, really. So you don't want to get too many copies and have them all sat on the shelf because they devalue so quickly, the new releases. But it's all about balancing. Film Wolf offers me some great music documentaries, or many of which I haven't got. So I'll try and pick some of these up, like The Decline of Western Civilization and Taylor Hackford's Chuck Berry film. So yeah, I'll look into those, Film Wolf. Thank you very much for posting that. There's some great ideas there that would really beef up my documentary section. Carl McLaughlin says, yes, typically Murder Party is coming to Blu-ray, standard practice, typical. You may have been here last week when I recommended that Murder Party is not streaming on any platform in the UK, and it deserves a Blu-ray release. And day after, it gets announced for a Blu-ray release. Standard behaviour, but it's fine. One thing I meant to say was congratulations to my good friend Liam Regan. Liam Regan, who I stock his 2 films here, Eating Miss Campbell and Penis Chopping Banjo. And they're both great, and he's launched his own Trauma label in the UK, which is mega. He's releasing the South Park Guys movie that rented out a couple of weeks back, Cannibal Doodah, you know the one. He's releasing Sergeant Kabuki Man on Blu-ray. Some really good stuff. And typically the day he announces Cannibal Musical on Blu-ray, Vinegar Syndrome chirp up the following day and say, oh well, we're releasing it too. Please buy it from Liam, buy it from Refused Films. Vinegar Syndrome do alright. Let's spend our money with the guy who's starting up a new label, because it's really exciting. He is a trauma expert. If it wasn't for him, my trauma movie section wouldn't exist. Thankfully, 12, 13 years ago, he advised me on what trauma movies to get, where to get them from, what was good, what wasn't good, what I needed to check out. So thanks to him, I've got a great trauma movie section. So, brilliant idea of his to do this, and I really hope he gets the support, and I hope that people shop at home and get them from his label as opposed to the big boys in town, which surprisingly are Vinegar Syndrome. But yeah, check out that. I think his releases are out on December the 1st, and you can order via refusedfilms.com. Skulder says about the Vinegar Syndrome subscription that it was nice to have, but he needed more flexibility. And you're right. But he said about the television sale, most of their titles are not my cup of tea. So yeah, that's what I said last week. So television are very, very niche. They're very, very niche, which may be going to bite them in the ass in future years and months to come. And finally, Del Bongo says, wait, there are Blu-rays of all 3 Maniac Cops? Yes, there are. Blue Underground released them, and you need to get them because they are fantastic movies. Right, we're over time. We're going to have a burnt chicken. Quickly. I'm going to throw some Sleeping Giants at you. Have 5 this week, which is a bit of a weird one. I said I was going to throw some obscure little horror films at you which aren't streaming in the UK. Well, here they are. This was from an abandoned, I don't know, well, maybe they only intended 5. This was from a Fright Fest horror collection that only got to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It was about 10 years ago, was it? Oh, Jesus, 20 years ago. The Roost. You wouldn't even believe it. The amount of publicity that Ty West has been getting recently. And The Roost isn't available on streaming. And the DVD is hard enough to come by. Nuts. The Roost is a brilliant horror film. Needs to be seen. And yeah, The Roost was part of this Fright Fest collection. All of these aren't streaming and all of these are worth your attention. They're all small scale. But they're interesting. They're interestingly done. So you have The Roost from Ty West, which is well worth a look. Eyes of Crystal is kind of an Italian spin on an Argento film, but it's a good effort. It's a valiant effort. So yeah, that's well worth a look. Tears of Cowley, I think where was that shot? Yeah, maybe in Germany, I think. But it's interesting. It's very, very gory, and it's decent. Then we have Maléfique, which sounds French, and indeed it is. Interesting one. And of course Dead Meat, which is a zombie movie, and it's a funny one at that, directed by Conor McMahon. But yeah, this is great. I don't know if anyone still owns these. I know DVDs aren't exactly the greatest commodity for most people these days, but all these Fright Fest branded movies that came out 20 years ago are all great. They all seem to have fallen by the wayside, but honestly, they're worth a look. So with Halloween coming up, definitely get Dead Meat, and definitely if you haven't seen it, with all the publicity surrounding Maxine and X and Pearl, you need to see The Roost. It's a great film and features Tom Noonan in a spectacular role. But yeah, that's it. My chicken is clucking and screaming at me to save it. So I will, and I will bid you farewell. I thank you for your continued company after 29 weeks. And yeah, thank you for joining me. And I will see you for a more relaxed and laid back episode 30, which will be in 7 days' time.